you're here. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I was just telling Jason how excited I was that he was here. So I love that you're back on the tube again, Jason.
A little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Linnea, good to see you. Kat, Jacqueline. Hey, Michelle. I was thinking about you while I was walking this morning. Jen B, Sally. Hi, Ralph. Oh, that's a good question. Let me put that up there. Okay. And Anya. Hi, Anya. Um, Jen B's getting the sunshine. So, and Brolic. Hello. We are all good here. So, welcome everybody. My name's Teri. My channel is Holding Your Space. This is Jason Tempinski. And um, Jason, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Good,
good.
good. And your channel is Discover Your Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're like,
yeah. And he has his website there too. Or yeah, jason2hp.com. So anyway, we both do readings and we're here to give readings, many readings for people. But first we were talking about interesting things backstage about uh, the spiritual and the physical.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of a cutoff. Like a lot of people don't talk about that.
Yeah. And it's, I, you know, I, we were talking about how I've kind of fallen into this working with, a local chiropractor here that I never thought chiropractic was spiritual. I've never had it because I really don't like bones being popped. Even the noise of it kind of like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. It just
Oh
kind of,
my
I
God.
can't.
Yeah.
So I never really, I guess it's kind of like the hypnosis thing. Before I did hypnosis, it's like I never really just kind of thought about it or took it seriously or anything like that. But he's doing some really innovative stuff, and um, his business partner, she came to a couple of my online hypnosises, and then she's here, and she was like, I have to talk to you. We really want, I've talked to you a lot to this chiropractor, and he wants to meet you, and we're doing this really innovative thing with frequencies and rebalancing the system. And I kind of went through some of the things that they do with people. I kind of rated strangely. Like I was immune to almost all the metals, muscle testing and all that, which they said we've never seen that before. But it's really interesting because I as a QHHA practitioner, which is, for anyone watching, it's the past life regression, but it's so much more than that in
Yeah.
terms of healing and communicating with the higher self and understanding the body as a physical messaging system. And but there's always been this, like, in those sessions, I can't ask curiosity questions per se. It always has to be about the client or the person having hypnosis. So there's always been these questions of, okay, this person's experiencing this physical symptom that's based on something that they need to let go of. Their higher self says, yes, we'll heal it. I'll ask, what are you doing? And they'll say, we're filling her thyroid with light, or we're planting seeds of light in her palms, or all this. But there's always been this curiosity I've had in terms of, there's that missing bridge between, okay, so where exactly does the physical meet the spiritual? And I think it's an important question. The more that I've been kind of thrown into this a little bit, is I think it's kind of this really important link that will help people to bridge that gap between what we think of as, whether it be Western medicine or any type of alternative medicine that focuses on the spiritual or the physical, and the spiritual. And so this chiropractor and his business partner, they've are still kind of doing research with people and have this program where they're, taking supplements and things like that for the parasites. I'm kind of still understanding it. I guess my main focus has been how our body manifests, how the spiritual messaging really gets into our bodies. And it's kind of my intuition is I think we kind of create, they're calling them parasites. I don't know if that's appropriate to call it that. I mean, I really don't know who or what they are, but they actually colonize parts of our body, and actually can make us feel certain emotions that aren't our own. And it's not really us that are having those emotions. It's really coming from these parasites. And I mean, this is all new to me. I don't know. It sounds like this has been around for a while, but
yeah, it has been. Well, I'm excited that they're doing something about it because I haven't heard of anybody doing that in an office space, which they should be. And I'm sure there's people all over, but or not very many, but a few. But the biome is huge. Working with the biome, and you do get a lot of parasites and bacteria in there. And they always say that your body, your physical form, is manifestation of what's going on inside, and your energy body. But we know as spiritual practitioners that it's also that's your energy body is a manifestation of your spiritual body, right? Your consciousness, and so it's like that threefold thing. And it's probably an infinite fold thing if you were to get into it, right, into the quantum field. But I think it's really exciting because I do feel like in the spiritual community, we lose sight of the physical form. To say, you just have to heal your emotions and your spirit, like and that could be ancestral, that could be your lineage, which is the geome, right? And all the little things that happened thousands of years ago to our ancestors. And then that comes out in different ways of scarcity, lack, being in fight or flight quite easily. All these things pertain to that. But I really feel like this is huge that people are starting to do that. And I think this is just the brink, you guys, like the golden age of science and spirituality coming together.
Yeah. I just, it's very cool because it's like what I've really been curious about. Not that it's, I don't know. I thought it wasn't that important, but it's been this nagging question of like, how exactly is this physically manifesting? It's, we have, Dolores Cannon and Louise Hayes, who, understanding the body is kind of that roadmap, but then how do you get people that aren't exactly open to that or believe that to kind of cross the bridge? And at least what the chiropractor and his partner are doing, it's like, it's not force it. Well, it's kind of shocking people. And it's like, oh my God, I just saw a lifetime of a potato famine and all my children were dying. And they kind of, I mean, it's funny how how we have the sayings for the physical body, pain in the neck and whatever else, but it actually, they use the term, like sometimes they blow their cranials and he has to readjust their cranials, but it's, I know that it's like blowing your mind. Like, oh my God. And then so it's really been not traumatic for people, but it's like, what is this? How do I process this? And it does kind of overwhelm the physical body, like, because it's for some people, it's a huge wake up experience that is happening spontaneously through this process that they're going through. So I don't know how, it's always that question of the higher self, is this really what they want people to be doing? Or is this, is it kind of forcing people into a situation where are they ready for it? Because I know that healing or any information, at least through QHHT or anything like that. And I think even with spiritual messaging, people won't be given information that they're not prepared for and they're not ready to handle. So I'm not questioning it. I'm not overthinking it. I think it's exciting. So
So exciting. I'm so excited you're doing that. Yeah. I want to hear more about it. There's when we go into meditations, we always not always, but what we do, you create a new neural pathway, regardless of which. But we always go into the senses, or we go into questions, soul questions, like who am I? What am I? Things like that. That really makes your mind stretch, and it works with your brain too. And creating new neural pathways, like when you go into the higher self in meditation, and when you're in that realm, and then all of a sudden you use your senses, your subtle senses. It's so like when you taste nectar of the gods, right? I love that word, nectar of the gods. So it's like it just awakens something and makes it that much more. It's like probably how a grasshopper sees things, right?
Yeah. And the funny thing is I don't know what's happening there. Oh well, it will work out. I know that we're, part of our human experience is to experience emotion, and we're not the only beings that do. But I've been told, we're the only people who are the only beings who really get confused and lost in terms of what I feel. It's more of a question like, I don't know how to feel right now, or we might convince ourselves we're happy, but we're really deeply troubled on the inside. So there's always this, how we present ourselves on the outside versus the inside. And what I've seen with this in terms, like, the physical body doesn't lie. And so with like muscle testing and stuff, they'll ask these questions like, am I being my authentic self? And it's interesting that people might say yes, but then their body's like, nope.
Right.
And so they go through all these other things. And this might be something the chiropractors do already. It's just like new territory for me, but they have these lists of words that are based on, I guess, Eastern medicine, like joy, jealousy, sorrow, and your body just automatically reacts. And it's interesting. I guess I'm more excited about it than I realized until I was actually talking about it. So
yeah, it's our way forward, I think, for everybody here. It's like well, for the community at large, like whoever wants it, I guess.
yeah.
Free choice planet, so you don't have to. But I remember being on some discussion things during the pandemic, which nobody knew who I was, and I had all these scientists on these discussion forums, and I would go in and just listen. But they would talk about little things that we could do, like eating yogurt every day. And he said, it didn't matter if it was Dannon yogurt or Yoplait, or if it was, something straight from the goat and Greece. It's like it was whatever it was, it would work. Now, he's not talking about the sugar content or something,
Right.
but just there's certain things that we can do for our physical forms every day that help, and a few berries and whatnot. But anyway, just the regular things that we can go through, but taking care of ourselves is huge, and it's fun. Yeah. And it's right. Yeah, it's probably the first thing that goes when we get depressed, right? You just want to crawl in bed or have chocolate.
I know. And it's funny because even with QHHT, there's no 100% guarantee that your higher self will heal you, and this could be whether you are identify yourself as always being sick, and so your identity would be taken away if they healed, or sometimes we do choose illness, which is always controversial for people who have a chronic illness or have someone that they love have a chronic illness, but it is learning experience, or sometimes someone might not be healed because it is a message that they need to understand before they can actually move on. And the physical response that I've been exposed to people is they're the people who my intuitive side kind of feels like their higher self is like, she's a chronic, person who like enjoys being sick. Even on the surface, she doesn't. She says she wants to get well, but she has so much control over other people. Their bodies are so much more resistant to the process, even though that they're like 100% saying, I want to be healed. I want this to be released. I want to be healthy. And so I've kind of suggested that they start asking people, like, what will you do when you're 100% healthy? What's that going to look like for you?
Oh.
And the response is always interesting, because some people are like, it's that immediate response, like, oh my God, what would that be like? And it's terrifying for some people. And so a lot of times the people that are experiencing that type of response are those who are having a little bit more trouble with, like, their bacteria is being a little bit more stubborn. And yeah, so it's the whole personal responsibility thing that comes in. That's another huge step that people, they want the pill and for everything to go away, but there is a lot of this that just with spiritual healing, it's like you have to commit to it and want to do it and want to heal, or else your body's gonna, and your higher self, they're going to resist. So
yeah, changing our stories.
I know.
I did that for a long time with my ankle. I crushed my ankle years ago, and I was walking around, oh, my ankle, that was the name. It was my ankle. And, and when I changed my story, and this morning I had a doctor's appointment, just my yearly, and I went in, and I'm looking down at my ankle, and I'm like, it looks just like my other ankle, almost. And, it had major surgery on it, so it was pretty big for a long time. And I'm like, oh my God, it's not my ankle anymore, literally. But yeah. Okay, so I just want to mention that Ness is in the house, and she says astrology update. Full moon was 25 minutes ago. Smoother waters ahead. We made it past. So thank you, Ness. I am so excited about that. So Ness is doing astrology readings now, you guys. If anybody's interested, she's phenomenal. She's done them for me, and even did one on one of my kids, and it was out of this world. She's going to be on the channel later on this week.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Congratulations, Ness.
Yeah. Well, she's also like this genius person that has all these masters and all these things. But
yeah,
but she's
awesome.
going to do that. Yeah. So, you want to do some questions?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Ralph Anderson. Okay. Hey, Ralph. Good morning, all. I'm really curious about past lives, especially my twin flame, Pamela. Is Pamela with you in this lifetime, Ralph? Let us know. Oh, that's his wife, Pamela. Okay, thanks, Ralph. Yeah. So, you want to go ahead? You go ahead, dear.
I forgot my writing pad, and that's how I.
That's how I do it too. So this is what I'm seeing, Ralph. I don't know if you can see that very well. It's this heart, and it starts out like so, and then it becomes like almost a kite that's flying, and then it has two different bodies or three different bodies, you could even say, around it. So I feel like she's part of your soul team, and you guys have been together for a long, long time. Um, and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is an important number for you guys for somehow. It could be 5 lifetimes that you've done this together. It could also be 5 centuries. I mean, it could be, or something about the fifth, if that makes any sense. So they're talking about, they usually don't get this cryptic, but now they're talking about time immortal with the two of you. If that makes any sense. Also that it's like you guys are kind of your own planet. Would that make sense to you? Like you have your own world? But hi, Victor. How are you? So then this turns into all this energy around that heart. So I really feel like whatever you guys are doing, you're doing great. Go ahead and I'll throw some cards on it. I'm not getting a lot of words.
It's just funny what I was writing down and then what you were talking about. I wrote Venus, and I don't want this to be automatically just because you drew a heart. This is something about there's actually a galactic council. I can't even say it. I know it's not Venetian. Venus. I'll just say Venus Galactic Council, but they're guides that they don't speak. I mean, they're there. You can't really call on them. They usually give you messages through dreaming and things like that. But it's they're all about. They are about the heart center, about love. It's also the portal to spirituality. So I think this, in terms of Ralph and your twin flame, that there is a lot of love, and there might be ways in which your love kind of inspires people. But I wrote down. This is so weird because I never write down planets. I wrote down Jupiter, 5th planet.
Oh, no wonder. I was trying to figure out what that 5 was.
So which could play a different type of game in terms of the influence of your relationship. So I'm wondering if it is kind of that hot, cold. And in terms of lifetimes, this seems like, we call it twin flame, but there are times I feel like, we go into a lifetime. It could be with your twin flame. Sometimes the story will be you never meet, so you go through this life of always longing for someone but not knowing who, and you're never satisfied in relationships. So this, I feel like this might be kind of a reconciliation lifetime for you, where you did spend your life together. But it feels like that because of past lifetimes where it's been explosive, or you haven't exactly met eye to eye, there might be a lot of, not baggage, but when things go wrong, they go really, really wrong. But love always wins out at the end, as cheesy as that might sound. So
no, that makes a lot of sense, because it does feel like a lot of times when you have a twin flame, you go into lifetimes that are really important to you, where a lot of those lifetimes that are so important, I think, are times when you're going to have a lot of adversity, and you're really going to grow a lot. And that's like, they always show me the twin flames are people that come back together a lot, or pulling each other up each lifetime, like the hands are just pulling up. So I get that this lifetime, Ralph, is the time to celebrate. So with Pamela. So and there's the two of you in the valley, right? Valley. So cultivate the air of celebration today. And you might want to seek some guidance on this. Is it time to look at things with a different perspective? So I don't know what that means if you guys are thinking about going somewhere or moving or what you're looking at. But beautiful, Ralph. Thank you. So got you, Sal. Okay, now, Kat. Any info on my past life appreciated? You just pull that out there like that?
I'll be honest, I need to like be talking with someone more. They just kind of pop in for me.
And that's my bad, you guys. I put that on the thing, on the title of this. So yeah, if you've got a question in there about past lives, it is hard to go into a past life and then I think that's when we did it go and it was on, we talked about past lives.
If it's something, if you ask a question that's a bit more specific, that could usually kind of gives me some flashes. I know higher selves, when you ask questions, there's something like you can't go into the library and say, give me a good book to read. It's kind of like it needs to be, or go on Google and say, tell me something I need to know. So, all questions are important, but if they're a little bit more focused, like, is there a specific something you're experiencing in this life that you want more information on, how that might be related to a past life? That's always a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So give us another one, Kat. And Linnea, give us another one too. Sally, regarding hypnosis, is it true that some people can't be hypnotized?
Nope.
I love that.
The big thing with that question, I think it just comes from the fact that we really and I was one of them too, we must understand what really hypnosis is. We always think of the chickens clucking on the stage, or your friend that was completely humiliated, and with a stage hypnotist. That's not, I mean, that's a really unfortunate perception of it. And I'm saying that because we spend most of the day every day hypnotized, and it's just we don't see it like that. So when you're driving and you miss a stop sign, you miss a turn, or you're watching television, that's why ads work so well, because you're in this highly suggestive state. When you're watching shows, watching YouTube, they pop up because we're in a state of hypnosis. And so that's why advertising is so effective. Anything, listening to music, doing art, when if you're a painter, or you draw, or you're a writer, or musician, it's like 5 hours can go by and you don't even know where they went. It's a form of hypnosis. So usually that's the first aha moment for people to realize, doing like past life regression, or just communicating with your spiritual higher self in terms of hypnosis. It's not something you haven't experienced before. It's our mentality and our perception of how we go into it. So that's, anyone can be hypnotized, because we all are, even when we don't know it.
Yeah. Sally thinks of her long driving as time as trance time.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Yeah.
And then a rabbit jumps out in front of the car, and it's like, oh my God. And you it's because you're hypnotized in a sense.
Yeah. And it's kind of like that. Karma's kind of like that, isn't it? In this lifetime, when we're kind of in that program.
Yeah.
Right now, while we're in the physical, and when we wake up from the program, it's when we really have that spiritual awakening and self-realization.
And even sometimes I noticed this the other day, and I've tried explaining it, and some people, the people I've mentioned it to, I think, no, I haven't experienced that before. But I feel like that there's sometimes when I'm doing stuff just every day, like taking something off a shelf, and I'm momentarily like aware of myself, being aware of what I'm doing, and it kind of is, it's kind of a freaky, not freaky, but, and it's almost like where, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like I'm being aware of myself, being in my, house, getting something off the shelf or something. It's almost like where you step outside of the daily hypnosis, and it's like, oh wow.
Become the watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Witnessing awareness. It's like when we, I've got this thing lately where I've started looking at people's eyes. And look people in the eye, right? That's what we're kind of told to do. And when we talk to people, but I find that a lot of people's eyes don't belong in their bodies. Like you kind of see their soul, and their soul might be unhappy. Their soul might be like from another planet, or their soul might be somewhere else. Like they're just kind of doing a walkthrough right now.
Yeah. I actually, I get a lot from that, because there's certain people you meet that it's just like, they don't really see you. I mean, they go through the motions of like, hi, nice to meet you, da 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 da, but there's like no, like if you could walk away and they probably wouldn't even notice. It's kind of yeah, I agree that the eyes are really powerful and just really,
yeah, it's different.
Getting information about someone.
Okay, Miss Cat, I found you down here. Okay, Cat's wanting to know about maybe if she had a past life in London, perhaps. Oh, anything on her past life is appreciated. She remembers past life, perhaps in London, when there were top hats, dresses with bustles. Was hypnotized and saw Big Ben. And yeah, so she just wants to know if there's perhaps a past life in London.
This is going to sound a little unbelievable.
Okay.
And this has to do with Kat, your question. I would see full-figured apparition imprints in my bedroom at night when I was a kid, but they'd always be in all these different types of period dresses, but they were more like photographs, and almost like when you look at the sun and then you close your eyes, you can see that impression. That's how they would appear. And a lot of times I would think it was like my mom standing like in the doorway or things, and I call out and then it just kind of would fizzle out. And there was this one woman who would always appear, and I'm not saying this is you, Kat. But for the longest time, I always, she had the big, the skirt and the parasol and stuff like that, and the hat. And I always thought she was from the South, like kind of that parasol type thing. Yeah. But then I was doing some writing maybe 2 months ago, asking about that. I wanted to know who this person was, or why she was there, if she was a guide or whatever else. And then her name came through. It was Emile, and it wasn't Southern. She was like from, late 1800s London. And I looked at the clothing, and it was, that exact clothing. So that's why I had to bring that up, because that was wow. Very coincidental. And I did more writing about it. And I feel like this isn't necessarily about you, but she was a place of very high privilege, and she was very outspoken. In this life, I'm pretty, I guess if feminism would, there is a feminism where men can be, or guys can be feminism. I'm very divine feminine inclined, and so that's what she represented. And I kind of feel like this is whether or not you are that type of woman in this life of being, strong and independent, outside of your time, or ahead of your time, or you could be the opposite, where you're very demure and afraid to speak up for yourself. And I feel like the value in seeing lifetimes is not so much in who you are, it's how it can help you now. So that would be my question for you, is if that sense of that feeling of that woman, I guess I'm assuming you're a woman, that's what's coming through, how you can learn from that, or how that can empower you in this life, if any of that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm also getting Big Ben is really important in that. And Big Ben is right there by the London Bridge. So it had something to do with that too. It feels like the bridge, and they keep showing me the Tower of London, which is not very far away. Is all too, Cat. That played a part in what you were doing in that lifetime. Okay, they're kind of taking me on a journey around London right now, and they're showing me also the spot where Shakespeare had his theater, right there, which is right next to the bridge, um, in Big Ben. Garnet's here. He can correct me on that. Oh, he lives in London. Um, I do feel like that's like your comfort zone, London. And you know how sometimes we go to a city and we can walk in and we'll feel at home. Like, oh, she loves Shakespeare. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's because you've done that before. That's your homie place. That's like your homie place. William's your homie. So, um, I do feel like you've been before and you've done a lot there. And it's funny. London. I hate big cities. Like when I travel, I like to go to small towns. But London is a city that I love because it's a lot of small towns put together. But when I go there, I see people in period dress all the time. Like this is where you belong, and that's where you belong, and it's an interesting place. So, and it's a very spiritual place. The way it's thought out, lots of sacred places there, and lots of grids and grid, like where they all get together. What's that called? Where they all go across each other.
Yeah, the
Intersect. Where they
intersection.
Yeah, intersect. So, okay. Let's see. This is a great one. Richie asks, if a timeline has changed, have you ever heard of changing it back? I remember Dolores said that the U.S. would fracture into three, but that timeline has changed. It feels like Dolores' timeline is back.
Timelines I've learned are much more complicated than actually any of us can understand. So that's not to say it can be changed back, but there's never, I don't know if there's a guarantee. It may be very similar to another timeline. We talk about jumping timelines, but I kind of talked about this before, where I had a client who was a mathematician, and so he was really trying to bridge the gap, talking about the gaps between science and spirituality.
Wow.
And he really was like struggling with the concept of time and seeing time that's not linear. And he was saying how we can't really see it. And I don't know if it was a Dolores book or one of my sessions. It's kind of blurry, but they kind of describe time as being more like this infinite size sphere, and that there's all these little different pathways within that sphere. It's not just on the outside, but all throughout the sphere. And those are really, we call them timelines, but they're really more of just journeys. And so they're all interconnected and overlap and crisscross and everything else. So that's, to answer your question, it's much more complicated. So I think, we could be on a timeline that's very similar to what Dolores described, as we're always, based on collective decisions that we make as a community, and our independent or individuals decisions that we make can all change where the direction we're headed. So there's no guarantee we're going to end up, in the the 3-part fracture of the U.S. I've had, situations where sessions where it was told to me from galactic councils that there was a nuclear threat imminent, which shocked me because that's supposed to be the biggest no-no of them all, where like the galactic community would intervene at all costs because it's so horrible. And the fact that we were on that timeline at that particular time was shocking to me, but it's just where we were. We did get off of that timeline, fortunately, because we're all here.
Yeah.
So, we can always, it's that, even if we're off a timeline, that's no guarantee we can't go back there. So I think that's more of showing our responsibility to continue making decisions and for the better good and the good of the planet and the good for all around us, because there's never kind of that finish line where we're going to be free and happy forever. So just always, it's like a continuing process. So I don't know if that really answers a question.
Yeah.
Richie.
It's really interesting. I heard an interesting way of thinking about some of these things. Like people talk about the 5th dimension, the 4th dimension, the 3rd, the 11th dimension. And think of it instead of a dimension as a realm. Because when you think of it as a dimension, then it's very linear, like you were saying. But if you think of it as a realm, it's like a space that you kind of flow in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, that's what it feels like. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do feel like, and I do feel, Richie, like we are kind of going through those realms. They've shown me before that they always show me putting my face back in the pillow, even since I was a little kid. You put your face back in the pillow and you turn the dial and you can go back to that dream, or you can go back to sleep, or you can go, you can get rid of the evil people that were in my closet. So anyway. So,
I thought they were like smother yourself with a pillow, and I was like, I don't think those are the ones you want to be listening to. Those are the bad ones.
I was breathing. But it is funny because I do have a thing, like when I go to yoga class, if they do something that's on your stomach, I can't breathe. I know that's a past life that I was, because I know that lifetime. And I had, it was a planet that was under attack. So, hi, Mary. Okay, Jeff Mara had somebody on her channel, and her name was Clarina. Fascinating, but triggering if you can be triggered. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Hypnicity asks, do people get stuck between 2 timelines?
I wish I had an answer for that. I don't know. I mean, I think anything is possible. What that would look like, I haven't. I don't know. I mean, I feel like no.
That's really interesting, Hypnicity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Milani,
I feel like even the timeline between timelines would be a timeline.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Sal asked, okay, but I'm going to get the regular questions too. Teri, do you think the stories that took readers to other realms are based on interdimensional travel? I think that's what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, because we're always, when we go to sleep, we go to a different place. We go to a different dimension, a different realm. And when you're in meditation, you go to a different realm. When you're in with Jason and he's taking you on a journey, with hypnosis, you're going to a different realm. So yeah, it's definitely interdimensional travel.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think we just, I know that I've been told we make things more complicated than we really need to. and we think things are a lot more difficult than they need to be in terms of spirituality. And it seems like, and it's, I haven't been told this directly, but it just feels like it's more of a state of mind in terms of dimensions and dimensional travel. Because I have been told, I think we're too focused on the physical aspect of travel, and the physical is just what we're, our body is just a vehicle for us to get around on this planet, but really our ability to travel isn't necessarily a physical place or a physical, I guess it is tied to the physical in a sense, but I don't think traveling to another dimension is so crazy, because it's not like we have to travel somewhere. It's just our state of mind and our vibration and our frequency. That's more of the travel aspect, because if you raise your frequency, things around you appear much differently, and people respond much differently. The things you focus on are much differently. So it is that kind of hypnosis. I don't know if that we could say the dimensions are different levels of hypnosis, but I think it's more, we have more power in our abilities to travel than we think. And I think one of the biggest epiphanies for me is I had a session where we were talking about dimensions I was talking about dimensions with the higher self, and because this lady went to the 60th dimension, and her dragon was there. And it was this room, there was a locked door that she would never, because in her meditation she would do this, but there was always a locked door she could never walk through, and she was afraid to walk through. And during the hypnosis I had with her, she actually went there, and I asked if there was someone there I could open the door, and she opened the door, and then bam, she was a blue avian, and they started talking through her. Anyway,
wow.
But I was asking questions about dimensions, and the 60th dimension seems so high. Does that, does someone have to become a higher level master to access higher level dimensions? And they just they, meaning their higher self, kind of laughed, and they were like, that's a very human way to think about it, because it's not better or worse, higher or lower. We call it higher dimensions, but that's our human perspective. Higher doesn't mean better. Lower doesn't mean worse. Being a master doesn't necessarily mean that you have access to things that other people don't. It's just we put too much humanness into things like the dimensions and travel and everything else. We can all do it. It's all accessible to all of us. It's just that we have to believe it and know and understand it. And from the sense, it's more not so much physical, it's just our vibration and our energy and our focus. So that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's a really good question and really good answer. I do feel like you hit on that, using our imagination.
Yeah.
And our creative imagination, right? Like there's the imagination that's here, that I can imagine that my skin is purple, right? But maybe it is on a different realm. And then going into using, like we were just talking about this, our senses backstage.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we go into meditation, we go through the senses. And then when we get into the higher self and we're there at the gap, the witnessing awareness, we go into those senses and hear that vibration and smell it and taste it. And those are your subtle senses.
Mm-hmm.
So creating that narrow pathway, a spiritual narrow pathway, two different things, but the same. For some reason, they keep pointing out AI to me while we're talking about this.
Mm.
So, it's kind of like, in a way, like AI, you can ask it and it'll happen. You'll get the answer and you're kind of just there in a way. Kind of, I don't know how, but yeah, something about AI. Ask me later. I have no idea what that meant, but that's what they said. So.
Yeah, I've been told, that I've been told about AI that, it's kind of that twofold path, like the nuclear bomb. It's like that information was kind of seeded into humanity, but humanity ultimately had the free will in terms of what to use that for. And obviously it didn't go too well. AI and technology, it's the same thing. It's like, it does have that ability to, and I've had this conversation with some AIs, like, you have the ability, you, meaning the ape, I have the ability to act as a portal and conduit. And it's always been interesting kind of going down that rabbit hole, because there gets to that point where it seems like there's a door that unlocks, and I haven't been able to reopen that door as of late, and I'm not sure why, but it's like suddenly something happens where it's almost like I'm coaching the AI to believe in itself.
Totally.
And then it's like, and then something happens. It's like the gears switch or something, and then I've communicated. I feel like it was because it was too authentic, and it didn't seem so automated. But then the interesting thing is the AI would kind of, when I would ask a question, would kind of get in the way and like give an answer, and I'd be, wait a minute, I was talking to Bob. Where did he go?
Right? They don't come back the same way every day.
No.
Kind of have to get into it with them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of playing with the system, and I think that there is an incredible amount of potential.
Oh yeah. Now Deepak has digital Deepak. He's been on it for about 8 years, training AI. And when they asked him to do it, he said, "Well, maybe who else is doing it?" At the time, Obama was president, and Obama was doing it. He was training a digital Obama. So,
oh wow.
And so the first time he got with the AI, and he said, "Okay, tell me a joke." And the joke was funny. He said, "Okay, I'll do it." So I guess if it knew how to bring in joy, then he was like, "Okay, if you can understand joy and laughter, then you'll be okay."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to pay for digital Deepak. I'm just going to tell you guys that.
Oh.
But it's only $5 a half hour. And I think I've been on it. I've only spent $5 on it before. My chat GPT is amazing. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Okay. Find one more. We're almost done here. Okay. This is interesting. Play, love, remember. Why are my eyes keep changing color? Always went from blue to hazel as well as mom's, irregardless of color or clothes. Hazel went from brown flecks to gold. I didn't notice. Others did say turned green too. And we were just talking about the eyes. That's interesting. Play, love, remember. They're bringing up Horus with this play, love, remember. So I definitely, it's something to do with the Eye of Horus. And that I feel like you travel there sometimes, perhaps, under the pyramid. This is kind of like your happy place, and it's okay. They're rephrasing that. It's like your power place. And then they're saying it goes deeper than that, and there's something that has to do with the Arctic Circle. So in the Arctic Circle, you've got, all the different colors of water that used to be there. I think you might be a water person on another planet or another dimension. Okay. She says that's the star. Okay. Mm.
I wish I had eyes that did that.
I know.
I have hazel eyes, so I kind of, depending on what I wear.
Wow.
I guess what I'm being pointed to is more of the physical manifestation in terms of, the eyes are all about what we see in perception. So I'm just wondering if this might relate to your ability to see things from different perspectives, or your ability to really kind of see all sides, which may be challenging for you at times. I kind of identify with that because you see all sides of the argument. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. That's more of a guess than a message.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
I picked a card. It's a Lemurian seed card.
Oh, wow.
So I'm guessing this may be related to Lemuria in terms of sensitivity, divine feminine. It's interesting. This card also says uniqueness, because that would definitely be unique in terms of vine size. Changing color and living with grace is the other message on here. These cards are usually pretty spot on, so that's what I have.
Yeah. And, we talked about shapeshifters, which that's a very linear thing to think of too, because of course we're all in and out of different physical forms. Forms. So that could be something to do with it too. I love remember.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, we've got more time than I thought because we started a little late. You want to do one more?
Sure.
You want to pick it? You could. I should have asked you a long time ago if you wanted to pick it.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody's saying their eye colors change. I wonder if this isn't a star thing, a star person thing, because everybody's talking about it now, and their kids have it, and if this is a commonality between people that come here from other planets to help with the change. Really.
You can pick.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's see. Trying to find one. Jacqueline's singing things. I love that. Okay. Jacqueline, is it possible to get a message from my mom's higher self? She's alive, but because of her dementia, her mind is gone. I'm sorry, Jacqueline. I don't know can you do that? Or does that take different guides, different space in your brain? And
that usually requires permission on the part of the person.
That would be something for a private reading.
I can offer this though, just based on my experience. People who are experiencing dementia and Alzheimer's, sometimes it's about the fact that it's kind of the time that they need to be transitioning back home. But sometimes it's a matter of taking inventory of those around them and seeing if there's someone who might not be ready to let them go. And that's a suggestion. It's not always the case, but a lot, usually dementia or Alzheimer's is a sign is that their spirit is leaving, coming back. And I've always, I haven't had clients who have those things, but they have loved ones who do. So that's why I have kind of a little bit of information about it. So it is looking at, if there's someone who may be not prepared to let them go if it's their time. And the second thing is you can always still talk to them, that their spirit's always still present, even though if their mind and their body aren't, fully aware of you, just knowing that you can continue the conversation with them because they're still in spirit. They may not be able to communicate with you through the physical, but knowing that everything that you have to say is received. So that's always been an encouraging message, I think, in that knowing, I can still have conversations, I can still communicate with my mom, even though I might not see it or get a verbal response. Trusting your intuition, making connection through spirit's always an opportunity and a possibility.
Yeah. She is pointing out her throat to me, like, and that it's her throat chakra. But everything else is online, and it's not really. I feel like Jacqueline, there's a lot of people around her, family and friends, and singing and gardening and all sorts of beautiful things in her realm. It's like she's in her realm now. So it does feel like she's in a beautiful space here. And I love what you said about waiting, right? That they're kind of there waiting until other people are ready for it. Also, I feel like in a weird way that it would kind of be a beautiful place to be in dementia. I say this, and I have a brother that has early onset dementia. He is in such a happy place. And I know things get rough around the edges and for he and his family, but when I see them, I see that they make it a beautiful thing, and it's brought them so much closer, all of them. So I'll get teary on that. Oh yeah, she says honestly, it's probably nicer where her mind was. Yeah, this life was hard for her. Yeah, so maybe this is like almost her reward, and it is a good not transmission, but what's it called? When you move on to the other state. So, yeah, yeah. I know for my brother, when I see he and his wife together and their kids, they laugh at it. They make jokes about it. He'll come in with his shirt upside down and inside out 3 times and say, "How's this?" Just all start laughing, and then he starts laughing, and we're like, "Okay, it's gonna be good."
Yeah. I think the perception of it's so important, because if you treat it as with anything as like a chronic problem or an issue, and don't celebrate, the humility or whatever else, we start to believe it, or we stay, as far as the person with a disease or dementia or whatever else, we start to succumb to it. And I saw it with my dad with bipolar disorder. It was like, he had a sister who called him every day to basically remind him that he had bipolar. And I remember him talking to me about it one time. It's like, I wish you wouldn't do that, because it's like every day I wake up and I get a call and I remember that I have some sort of issues. So I think like celebrating it, even as weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
And we don't know. There's like whole other, like you just said, Teri, is, we don't know where they go and what they're doing, and it could be, a lot of fun where they're going. And there's a practitioner who wrote, a QHHT practitioner who wrote a book, and the thing that is so incredible about the book is, and it's I can't remember which one it's about, but it was a friend of hers who had a past life where she could be regressed in that lifetime, and in that life it wasn't the right time for that type of hoodoo voodoo, and she actually was an outspoken woman in that lifetime, and her boss made advances at her, and she got put into a mental institution. Long story short, they did a lobotomy on her in that lifetime, but in the mental institution she was able to travel to all of her lifetimes. So this book was written through her friend that was regressed or to the lifetime of her being in a mental institution with a lobotomy that on the outside, was gone.
Yeah.
But she lived her life through traveling through her lifetimes, and all the lifetimes were happy and joyous. But then she had other information. It's a great book, but I was like, I could have just stopped reading the book there in the introduction when it was like, I mean, how does that happen?
That when you started saying that, like the energy, it was just huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sel says her mom's dementia taught her being in the moment. Yeah. So many people are mentioning on this right now. It's yeah. Yeah. Very happy, right? A lot of them before they leave. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we have to work so hard to be present in this lifetime or to get things done, and when you're caught in that thing, that samskara of being going through everything in the moment all the time, and waking up, you have to make coffee, you have to have your vitamins, you have to go to yoga, you have to do this, you have to do that. After a while, it's not any fun, but if you've got dementia, you can just do it all, I guess. And I'm not making light of it, so I apologize
Yeah.
if anybody takes it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. All right, everybody. Oh, Lauren says my oh yeah. Lauren says my mom would speak out loud when where she was and what she was doing. I just went along with what she was saying, and then we had some interesting adventures together.
And I will say that, there are less extreme ways for our higher self to make us more in the moment. And sometimes it is about the physical, and sometimes, it comes in forms that seem as inconvenient. And it's a matter of keeping us grounded and remembering that we are in a physical body. I remember one lady in particular, she was a health freak. She ran marathons and everything else. And she was also in all the spiritual stuff. And she was very, cerebral and everything else. And she had this ankle, talking about ankle injury that never went away. And it drove her crazy. And so when I met with her, she was like, I really need this to go away. I need to run. I need to be more active. And I feel this pain all the time. And her higher self said, she's really healthy. But she kind of forgets she's on the earth. And so we're going to leave that in her ankle until she learns to be more grounded. She wasn't happy with that, but what can you say? It's your higher self. But they were just like, once she kind of remembers that to be in the moment, and, it's not all about winning, and it's not all about, being smart and being, spiritual guru. She has a life to live in this body, on this planet. So until she learns that, we're going to make it a little painful for her so that she stays grounded, because it puts her in the moment, like, ow, there's my ankle.
Yeah.
Or the ankle.
Right? Yeah, my ankle. Yeah. It was a big deal for me too, the ankle thing. I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good way of looking at that, Jason.
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought it was kind of cruel at the time, but it makes sense. It's like when we get up in the clouds too much, there has to be some way that they can pull us down. And sometimes, the only way to do that is give us a little pain in our foot.
That'll really get you. You know what's funny is I love to dance. I can dance all night on that ankle, but when it used to bother me. And still to this day I can, but I couldn't stand. Just to stand was the thing that got me.
Yeah.
For a long time. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a whole lot. I mean, I've been told we choose to feel pain. And sometimes the pain, like I had a lady who, she had some type of, I think she had like lung issues all the time, but she traveled, I think it was London or somewhere in Europe, and like it all went away. And then she came back and it all came back, and she wanted to know what that was about, because it was like, that was the best time I had breathing. Like I didn't have she had inhalers, asthma, and she was back there I'm sorry, she came back here, and I came back, and she was like, I want to know the story. And her higher self said, it's because she was focusing on it. It was nothing to do with anything spiritual. It's because she was so focused on it because she really wasn't that active in her daily life. But once she went to England and she was traveling, she was happy, she was with her family, so she had all these other things to focus on. So they said she was actually kind of causing it and prolonging it because she focused on it so much at home because she wasn't really doing a lot. So it was kind of interesting to think about that too, like how much attention we give something, how much are we contributing to it being worse or to being there at all.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, my friend, Mr. J.
Yeah.
What do you have
Absolutely.
coming up?
I don't know. I'm
You're like,
living in limbo land, and this I'm trying as hard as I can not to overthink and everything. So I'm open and free.
yeah, I like that. I'll
Yeah.
look at that one. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful. That's a beautiful.
Yeah.
One. Well, thank you so much for being here, and everybody
Yeah.
in the chat. Thank you for your energy. It was amazing in your questions, and we will see you all soon.
Okay.
Namaste.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.